Shalom. So one of the first commandments the Most High gave was to replenish the earth. And there are different ways in which the earth can be replenished, which the main one, the first one we have here is the physical, which is done through sex, right? But there's something else that he said. He said replenish the earth after their kind. So if you're Chinese, you would replenish after your kind. If you're an Israelite, after your kind, whatever the nature of these people are, whatever are animals, whatever, they will replenish after their kind. That's physically. No, mentally, you can replenish, right? No, what happens mentally is when you when you alter the psyche of whether an animal or human, this is where the problem is, right? For example, when they take the slaves and they push whatever doctrines on us, right? They are building us in their image. So we are no longer created in the image of our God, but we are created in the image of those who rule over us with an iron fist, right? Now, one example of how this works is, say, for example, the Africans. You have a lot of Chinese, we know Chinese control a lot of their wealth in Africa. You have a lot of Chinese men who are going with African women. So physically, these babies are going to be, they're going to be strong. They're going to be physically strong. But mentally, they're only building the Chinese economy. And you see that a lot with, people from the Caribbean or from Africa going to Europe to build their economy. It's not that they're going there to go back home and build home. They're building the Europeans or the Chinese or everybody else's economy except ours, right? So that's a part of it. And then what you see happen is they spend all their lives in places like Europe or different countries, giving all of their physical strength there. And when it's time to die, that's when they go back home. So it becomes a big cemetery. Jamaica is the same. It's a big cemetery here. You might be in the neighborhood and then suddenly you hear of a funeral of somebody buried in your area. But guess what? You have no idea who that person is. Oh, you know what I mean? And then you're wondering, how is that person buried in that burying ground of the community that you're in? Then you understood that, oh no, it was this person that the daughter or son went away for how many years? 50 years, 60 years, and stuff like that. You don't know them. They went away from their child. They gave all their strength there. Then they just come back to be buried, right? So that's one of how the earth is replenished mentally through doctrines, through their teachings, their education systems and religious systems and so forth, right? No, there's another way, and this one is something that many of us don't even consider, and it's happening so much around us that we don't even see it. Spiritually, right? This one is dangerous because in this form of replenishing the earth, this is where a lot of our babies become property of Satan. How does this work? Ah, all those blood that you give into these hospitals, you don't know you don't know their agenda. You don't know um what these hospitals are about. You just know in your head that, oh, your child is sick and they're taking blood samples. Oh yeah, where are they going with the blood? Who are those doctors and nurses? that are dealing with these areas in the hospital systems. You don't know if they're Satanists. You don't know if they're Luciferian. You don't know their religious belief system or what they support, right? So a lot of them, they take the blood of your child from the baby stage and they bring it to feed their God, and then all of a sudden your child is growing very strange, like totally different from anyone in your family. You can't relate the child to anybody to say, oh, he or she is behaving like his grandaunt or this person there. You can't relate it. The demon messed with the blood, right? And where did you see this? If you remember in the movie Supernatural, there's a scene where that yellow-eyed demon was standing over, I think the name was Sam. The name of the baby was Sam when he was a baby, and then it mentioned about he had demon blood in him. In reality, it's the demon had his blood, right? That's just how they show it in the movie, but this is how it actually works through these what do you call it? When you give blood through these systems, you give blood in the hospitals, you don't know what they're doing with it, and this is why some of our children are actually cursed. You can't seem to figure out what went wrong, what happened, right? Because these things are so subtle. They're so subtle and simple like that, they become the property of Satan. I know it's difficult to discern sometimes that your child might be in a certain medical condition, and yes, they might need to take the blood. It's a risk, but you know this is why it's important to have the fathers around when it comes to major decision making. You can't just jump ahead and do that absent the wisdom or the counseling of your husband, regardless of what the doctors say. You know what I mean? And you have to know some things about the hospitals that you're going, or about these nurses, right? Or whose hand the blood samples are passing through, because these are some serious curses that are not easily lifted, right? So I'm just giving you 3 examples of how the earth is replenished, and sometimes why some of our children are cursed and we can't seem to figure it out, because it happened from an early stage. And growing, they get deeper and deeper into it because they're open to different things as well, right? So when the scripture said, ye are of your father the devil, this is talking about spiritually, right? Because coming from the lines of Abraham don't mean much. It says not all Israel are Israel, right? So this means mentally and spiritually, right? So just for us to understand that these things are happening, and for us to be more careful when it comes on to especially their medical systems, right? And the way they use words, they're very subtle. This English language, it belongs to them. We don't understand it as we think, because they can make a whole sentence and we think we understand, but they have a whole different meaning, right? So it is very important when we're making decisions, like the scripture says, do not deal with the sorcerers, the witchcraft, and the this and the that. And we just look at it, oh, sorcerers, magicians, no, we're not dealing with that. Oh, yeah. But if you convert, if you translate those words to the modern term, you're going to get the same things that you use every day. They call them biologists, chemists, scientists, herbalists. All of those names can come under the same things if you use the modern translations, right? So we have to be careful with these people, because again, like I said, their intention is what makes the deed wicked. If you have to give blood to help your child to recover from some health problems, your intention is good. But then again, you're going through the hands of people whose intentions are bad, right? And this is what we need to understand, where the power of intention is. You might be pure, you know your intentions are pure, but it does not change the fact of these the hands of these people. So it's just for us to be careful and be aware. All right, shalom.